we talk about feeding patterns. Okay, it's pretty interesting. The feeding patterns are pretty simple when you look at it as from the point of view of they need to eat. It's winter time and the deer are going to be moving. So let's put this into a visual form. Okay, so here we have our trusty dry erase board. Okay, so deer, so let's say you have about a 300-acre field here. Okay, this whiteboard is a 300-acre farm. Deer generally will move in the brush lines, okay, to get where they're going. Okay, so feeding patterns, let's say we have this field is corn here. This field is corn, okay, and we might have some soybean over here, okay, and we might have some soybean in this area. Now there's tree lines in between here to break this up. Well, some people may call a windbreak, okay, in between the fields. It's divided up, and that's what makes it better. So say you have woods here, okay. Now this is going to be a little island of woods, okay, and it's best to the first thing you're probably gonna think is, oh yeah, I want to go hunt in those woods. That might not be. I mean, it's an island, and it's going to be about maybe 40 acres or something like that. There, maybe 60 acres. That that's a good amount. That's a good amount of land, but at the same time, you don't want to go just marching right into those woods because it could be overpopulated with deer. Okay, when you get an island like that, deer will, when the habitat is best, that they have soybean, corn, and they have routes to get to it, you're going to have a nice area, a very, very, very nice area. But if you go stomping into the woods there, you're going to flush all those deer out, just like you're pheasant hunting. So the best thing to do is always find an intersection in between those areas. I would hunt this corner area, so the deer are going to use these tree lines, and they will walk back and forth from the corn to the soybeans. Now this will be about September, maybe late September. Okay, the feeding pattern for that would be to get fattened up. They're going to look for corn. It's yellow corn preferably, because it has a lot of oil in it. It has a lot of fat in it. So they're going to fatten up. It's got carbohydrates. It's got everything they need to get fattened up. That's why they feed it to cows and cattle. And soybean will probably be late fall. Okay, so you're gonna hunt along that tree line there because you want to get in the path of where they're going. The woods is going to be their bedding area. They're going to be laying in there, just chilling out, hanging out during the day. Maybe browsing around, looking for acorns, something like that, whatever. Coyotes may get them stirred up, whatever the case. You want to leave consider that their bedroom. You don't want to come into their bedroom unless you're totally scent free and you are the ninja of the woods, okay? You don't want to go in there. Most people are not the ninja of the woods, okay? You don't get that usually until later on. Anyways, that scent free is very, 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 very important when you get next to their bedroom. So the corn. Now the corn is going to be, they're going to be getting fattened up on that, in September, getting ready for the rut, as we discussed in the last video. And then comes around October, November, that's where the feeding habits are going to change. The bucks are not going to be looking for the corn per se. They're going to be looking for the deer. They're going to for the does. They're going to be in the woods here, circling around, kind of marking their spots, saying, hey, I claim this area and I claim the does in this area. So you'll find bucks in there. But the does you're going to see every evening coming into the corn and just feeding on that. They'll find apples if they can. If you can find an apple orchard, that's great too. They're gonna be coming every evening, coming off of this wood line. They'll stand at that wood line until the sun goes down, and then they'll work their way out into the cornfield and just kind of pick at the corn. So that's a great way to get deer in an open area. And then, mind you, this is like the golden thing for a deer is to have a cul-de-sac. Okay. A cul-de-sac is a corner. By these tree lines being here, like the brush line, it creates a corner. They can see everything coming towards them from this way because it's open. But this corner, you have woods, and you have an easy route to run away. Deer love it. Deer love it. If you can find a corner, a U-shaped area of woods, and it's a big, huge opening on one end, but the rest of it is a U-shape. It's closed into woods. That's a great area to hunt. Generally for does, and they love to be able to have that easy escape route really quick in case danger comes around. So I would definitely be looking for corn all the way up to October, November, early week of November. Usually it's harvested by then. I would definitely be looking for corn, and then looking for the corn harvested fields within the first week of November. That's really where all the deer are going to be, especially the does. And that's the second phase of it. Now the bucks have been fattened up. Now they're chasing the does in November, October. And the third phase is now this corn is completely gone. It's gone. It's been a week or two. It's been a week or two since the corn has been down, and the field is hot, meaning like it's been hunted over. It's got hunting pressure over it, and the deer know, no, I'm not taking that. Okay, so now they're hitting the soybeans at night. They're eating on the soybean at night, and that should be harvested anytime. Sometimes they can, soybean can go until, I've seen it up in late November to December. Just depends on how long it takes to turn. But you want to check with your local farmers to find out, or the land that you're hunting on, you want to find out when it's going to be ready. They usually know by the farmer's almanac. They know when they're going to be pulling that soybean. So they're hitting the soybean at night because the hunting pressure is on during the day. And this changes their feeding pattern. It changes their feeding pattern. So now they're hunting now they are moving more in the evenings. This is why during the early hunting season, you're in September, October, you're hunting during the day because the deer haven't been bothered all summer. So they get used to moving early in the morning. Like, hey, nobody's out here. We're just kind of cruising around, eating something. Now the hunting pressure's on. Most of the hunters are going to be hunting during the day. Then they think, oh, well, we'll come out at night. So that's fine. They can get around at night. Nobody's bothering them. Now, once it gets to where people don't see deer, they'll stop hunting, and it falls off. Only the most persistent hunters will keep hunting. They know that the amateurs are going to fall off, and they're gonna be gone. They're like, I'm not seeing deer. I'm not going. I'm tired. I've been going all the time, and I haven't got a deer. They know that they're going to fall off. So now the most persistent most persistent hunters will still be out there, and they know that those deer are going to come out at night. That's what their pattern has changed. Their feeding pattern has changed. They're coming out at night, and the most deer that are just waiting, they're starving because they're trying to not be shot, and they're trying to avoid being hunted. But what they're going to do is they're going to start moving towards the edges. They will stay in the shadows. They will stay in the shadows, in the woods, until the sun until that last light. Now, this is where the law plays in. This is great because the law comes in and says, hey, you are not to shoot deer 30 minutes before 30 minutes before sunrise or something like that. They usually have it 30 minutes before sunrise and 30 minutes after sunset. That's where it stops. But you would think to myself, oh, I can still see the sun. It's still sunrise. No, that's not the case. That's not the case. It's sunset. Just because you can still see the sun doesn't mean it. They have a actual specific time, and the sun will still be up. And they have an actual specific time that you are not to shoot them after this. For some reason, deer must know this. They must know this information. So so in late season, which is like October, late October, November, you often start seeing deer at that last light, which is called like 10 minutes or so before the sun is gone. It's like sunset. It's like dusk. You know, that kind of time you start seeing deer moving. But people think that, oh, that's when I see them, so I need to get out there like a half an hour before that. No, you're gonna bust deer. You're gonna walk in on deer, and they're gonna be jumping everywhere. Because what they do is they'll get up and start moving about 2:30, maybe 4 o'clock or something like that. If you say sunset is 6 o'clock, I mean like it's dark, okay, and your last shooting light is 5:30. You need to be out there about 2 o'clock, okay, hours before, because your scent will be hanging around until in like a couple hour, 2 hours. It'll be pretty fresh. So that's the point, is to make sure that you leave them dead in their tracks. I mean, you want to intercept where they're going and where they're coming from. Or if you know where they're going to be, then you get there hours and hours and hours ahead and wait it out, and it will pay off for you. So that's the feeding pattern for that. Late winter, December, January, if there's any standing crop, you would hunt that. But most cases, probably around late November, I start putting food piles out. If your state allows it, you can put out bait stations, little bait piles, and that will get the deer to one area. That'll get them to one area, and once they get the habit of going there, then you can set up and hunt that area. You usually get about 20 to 30 yards away from the bait area, and then you can hunt that with the anticipation that deer are coming to feed there at dawn and dusk. But that's feeding patterns. It can be pretty predictable. They need to eat. They have to. They won't go hungry. They won't stop eating. They will just go around the timing that you're coming in. Don't get a habit of going in at 5 o'clock in the morning every single morning, because they're gonna know, oh, he's coming in at 5 o'clock. I'm not going to be in this area when he comes in. I'm going to go over to Rob and Joe's farm, and I'll hang out there until he leaves. I know he goes to lunch at 1 o'clock. I'll come back in here, check and see the does are okay, and go back.